Coming to you from the all-new Live House in Hollywood, California.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Pensado's Place. We've got friends from SoundCloud here. They've got a brand new initiative and we're going to share that with you. But first, we've got the week 3 winners of the AUSOUNDS Global Giveaway. AUSOUNDS is the headphone company that makes headphones for music creators. Our boy Dave, as we told you, he mixes on them sometimes. There will be 4 winners each week, 2 who win the Ostream True wireless earphones, and 2 who win the Offlex ANC, automatic noise canceling, neckband earphones. And the winners are, from Cape Town, South Africa, Roxanne Britton; from El Paso, Texas, Ricardo Alvarez Lopez; from Eugene, Oregon, Rei Mastrogiovanni; and from Aswal, Mizoram, that's in India, the northern part of India to be exact, Bobo Renthlei. Congratulations to all you guys. You did well, you got in there, and now the rest of you, come on, 1 week. Get going, gang, and here's how you do it. You enter at pensadosplace.tv/AUSOUNDS, fill out the info, and you're in. 18 years and up, good all over the globe. We'll announce the weekly winners here on the show, on our socials, and on AUSOUNDS socials. Also, would you do us a favor? Like and subscribe, click notify, sign up for our newsletter, and hit us on our socials, which you see right here. And now to SoundCloud. You already know they are the amazing, ever-evolving platform completely dedicated to the DIY music community. They've just launched a brand new initiative, and Miguels Senquiz from SoundCloud and Philip Nicol from Dolby are here to discuss. We had a great conversation with them. Enjoy it. Guys, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Now, Miguel, you're in Berlin, and Philip, you're in San Francisco, correct?
That's right.
So tell us about this initiative. Apparently it started from a conversation at NAMM in the hallway a couple of years ago, and voila, share with us.
Yeah, that's right. So it was exactly that. It was a hallway conversation at NAMM with one of our good friends and colleagues at SoundCloud. And there was just a question about, what could we do with mastering? And we had been working on some technology in that regard for some time. And so we decided to join up at the hip with SoundCloud and see what we could do together. And so what you're seeing today is really a result of a 2-year effort and a huge international effort across our teams in Barcelona and Sydney, Australia, San Francisco, and Miguel's teams and SoundCloud's teams across Berlin, LA, New York, all over the world.
And London.
So, Miguel, your role, give us what your role and what your teams did.
Sure. So at the time, we were called the Creator Workflow Team. And a lot of what we focused on was trying to improve the workflow of creators. So from getting the idea out of your head and onto the platform and in front of fans, and then growing that audience. So we had been looking at a few different projects that potentially could improve the workflow for these creators. And Alvarez, who's Philip's friend, came to me with a deck, and he's like, Dolby, we should do this. This looks really cool. And I think I was maybe a little apprehensive at first, but read through the content and got a chance to meet the team and was immediately flipped. It was super impressive. They've got PhDs hanging out alone in Barcelona, just hacking away on ways to make audio amazing. And it was impressive. And so then our team, it seemed really interested. It didn't have a full plan. There was a lot of different directions we could take. And a few of the people on the team decided that they just wanted to start piecing together a prototype. And then we made that and sort of use it internally. And it just was iteration after iteration for months with the musicians that work at SoundCloud, and then sort of extending it out to the a beta community. Just getting really good feedback. And yeah, that's sort of how it happened and how we ended up here.
Nice.
Yeah, that's right. And on our side, it was, again, it was just a huge effort across the teams. And what we did is we started out with some profiles we had to develop for another project, the Dolby On recording app. And we decided what could we do with those profiles and how could we apply some of those profiles and ideas that we had to mastering. So we really cleaned the slate, started over, And what we did is we embarked on a listening process with popular tracks on SoundCloud. So these were tracks that had been really successful in the last 3 to 5 years. And we did an analysis of those tracks to find out what was similar, what was different, what was consistent across the tracks, and more importantly, how they differed from some of the tracks that we had used for previous profiles. And then we basically came up with this subset of tracks that we thought was representative and important from the SoundCloud user base standpoint, handed those off to our research team. They went off into their magic research bubble and created these fantastic profiles. And then we did a whole cycle with our science team, with engineers, with listeners, and just kept, as Miguel said, just kept fine-tuning those and really got it to a point that we were happy with it and handed it off to the SoundCloud team for the beta that we did.
Mm. Dave, you had a reaction to those profiles when we talked about it.
Yeah. I was just curious about if any of mine were in there, but that's just the ego thing. I do have a question though. SoundCloud has traditionally been known for not doing any algorithmic lowering of the levels and volumes, nor does it try limiting. Is that still the case right now?
So it's actually something that I can't speak with a lot of confidence on in the status of the project, but it is the team that I just joined, sort of like the media streaming player and audio workflow team. And it is something that a portion of that team is actively looking into. This would be, I mean, you're talking about having the audio just sort of like brought to a level across, during real-time play.
Tell them don't do it, because a lot of my colleagues, we like the fact that we can blow the doors off, and then if your mix isn't good or loud, they tell us, well, you can always turn yours down. Well, they can always turn theirs up, But the reason I asked it was, excuse me, the reason I asked was when you upload. You know what? I'm getting a little ahead of myself. When we start talking about some of the technical things, I'll chime in. But I think it's such a great idea, and the implementation, Philip, is excellent. It really does work, and it really does work well. Some people might ask, why do I need to master my music? Well, it provides a safety net. It provides another option, a look from another angle at your music. And so a lot of people think that mastering is irrelevant, but for me, it never has been, and it's been an integral part of my success. I actually learned a lot about mixing from a mastering engineer named Eddie Schreier. And when I first got to LA, and Eddie would say, hey man, listen, you hear this mix here? That's what you're doing wrong, And then if I did something stupid, he'd correct it for me. So this algorithm is pretty smart. It captures and does a lot of details that I didn't think it would do. So
yeah, and Dave, that's an important point. I mean, I think what you just raised about mastering engineers. We want to be clear. I think both SoundCloud and Dolby feel this way. Is we're not trying to suggest for 1 minute that we're replacing mastering engineers. I mean, mastering engineers, it's a dark art, and everybody brings their own creativity, preferences, and special sauce. But what we do believe is that we have an opportunity to be able to give people who don't have access to, amazing rooms like this and all the tools, a tool that they can use to look and sound their best, and really democratizes that approach for them, that they can sound really, really good with a very straightforward platform, a platform that they're used to.
Yeah.
I should have mentioned that, Phil, because you're not really trying to compete with a human. You're just trying to give an affordable option to people that need it, And I think that's going to actually help the human engineers, the human mastering engineers, because once people see how good that can be, then they can take it to a human and see what happens there.
Well, let's actually build that out a little bit to get two perspectives. One is part of the fun for me is doing things from the perspective of not being an engineer. and just seeing if it is user friendly, easy to understand. Now, obviously, I have more knowledge than maybe the average person, but it's not what I do specifically day to day. And you guys have put together a system that is so easy to get to figure out, to compare, to do all the things. So kudos to that, because I think sometimes things can be over-tapped. And you guys got it down to, and then the profiles are so cool in terms of what you can select and click that particular pane and that sound. And so you got to describe that in a second. But before we do that, our experience from Pensado's Place is that the mastering community is a very vocal and passionate community. And I think it's important to understand for our audience and other people that oftentimes these tools augment your skills. It's not about changing you or eliminating you or whatever the case may be, that as the tech forward march goes inevitably, tools like this can be helpful. And there's certain things that you should absolutely question, but there's other things that you can embrace and realize somebody's potentially being a partner for you. Is that part of the mindset here?
I mean,
Absolutely.
on my end, oh, sorry, go ahead, Philip. I was going to say on my end, I spent several years working at a label and have made many relationships with artists, some of whom are mastering engineers in their own right, and very good ones. And it's been an interesting, series of conversations. I've gotten everything from like, don't do it, it's going to mess everything up, to like, this is amazing. This is actually, you're having people who are maybe getting their first DAW. SoundCloud is like the number one platform for DIY musicians who are, it's like whatever they have, however they made it, they have a place to put it, and to kind of try to figure out where to go from there. And with this tool, you're essentially introducing a concept that was maybe foreign or unknown to them at a price point that's palatable. And I think what that does is it creates like a stepping stone, right? Where a lot of the tracks, when we look at the evaluation of the things that are coming through the system, they're all over the place, like -3 all the way down to -63. We want to help them sound like they have at least enough chops to sort of sit at the same table as some of the music that they admire. But yeah, I mean, to the point of the sort of negative reaction from the engineering community, I think I've had a lot of conversations and I really empathized with sort of their position. And I think that ultimately more people will know about mastering and more people will use it. And as their songs and their talent gets better, they're going to need more than, what we can offer. And I think that at that point, they're now stepping into, the $25, $50, $7,500 an hour mastering engineers. So I think that this is actually like a giant advertisement for...
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Miguel.
No, that's all. It's just like a big advertisement for mastering in general.
Well, I was going to say, talk about two things: price point and where that sits for folks, and then also those wonderful profiles, because those profiles are really interesting in the way you guys name them and stuff. Price point first. Yeah.
So we've priced them at, if you have a Pro Unlimited subscription, which gives you unlimited uploads, access to monetization, and a number of other features, you get 3 masters for free as part of your monthly plan. So every month, 3 are in your account. You can use them, cannot use them. They are there. If you are on our sort of Legacy Pro account, we give you a discount of 20% off on the master. So it's I think $3.99 USD, and then it will adjust based on the location that you are, where we have currency calculations done. And then for free users who want to try it, it's just $4.99. So the max cost for a master is $5. 3 masters in a month, it's the same as a subscription. It's a great deal. I think that there's a lot of really cool benefits that SoundCloud offers, and this is a great gateway drug into it.
And you take Bitcoin.
Not yet. Maybe not ever.
It seems like to me that technology is always kind of resisted initially. And I think that one of the hidden values of the SoundCloud mastering platform is that this is the future, and you can't stop the future in technology. You can only get mowed down by it. And so we're going into a time period where so many of our tools now have machine learning, and we're starting to peek into the artificial intelligence, the AI world. And pretty soon, those will be things that are just commonplace, probably as soon as we get a little more powerful computers, which Apple is working on now. But I think it's a good time to start using a tool like this, and this is actually a really good tool. I've used it. And just get your feet wet with how things work, because it's harder to come in at the end of a technological advance than it is at the beginning. And so I think one of the things that made it accessible to me for my whole life is I got into it very, very early, extremely early. And so I don't have to catch up on 30 years worth of knowledge. And so I think that's a good thing to do. Just even if you don't need it, get on and play with it, because it's the future and you can't stop it. And a lot of I'll probably get creamed for this, but a lot of mastering engineers already have a digital platform under their umbrella, or either they have they're releasing plugins that emulate their process, that sort of thing. So it's the future, and I think everybody sees it that way.
So let's go back to the profiles. That was part two of my question.
Oh,
Yeah.
Describe those and how those work and how you came up with those cool ass names.
Okay, well, I can't take any credit for the names. We have an amazing writer in-house named Anna, and I believe she worked with maybe someone from Dolby, Gentry, maybe, on the naming for these things. But we have 4 profiles that we're currently offering. We have Thunder, which is kind of focused on raising lower frequencies and giving the track some bump. I think the description is something along the lines of like, make your trunk shake and windows rattle. We've got Sunroof, which is really just opening up the mids and the highs.
Yay, Sunroof.
What's that?
I was cheering for Sunroof. I was just cheering for Sunroof.
Yeah, it opens the mids and the highs, and it's great for tracks with vocals. You know, it just kind of like does a little scoop and pops up the vocal, and I think like R&B tracks really benefit from it. And then we've got Aurora, which is a bit of an experimental one. I think it's probably meant for maybe orchestral pieces or ambient pieces, or tracks that just don't have a lot of traditional sound and a lot of spacing. And it tries to not do too much, but it looks for those elements and gets them in the mix so that you can kind of hear what was intended with experiment that was going on. And then we've got Clear Sky, which I kind of call the Quincy Jones profile, which just brightens the mix. It reins in the low end, and it just gives like that sub bass and that kick, like a lot of pop. And then it just, at the high end, like the vocals and the hats and the snares are just like popping. And it is, like, if you want to make a pop song, just that at 100%, we got you.
Now, let me just for the audience's sake and to clarify, there was no medicinal or recreational substances involved in naming these profiles, were they?
We cannot confirm or deny that.
Got it. Great answer. That would be the exact correct answer. So this just recently rolled out. It's now available. It's out there. If people wanted to check it out, they go to the website. Where do people go to find out this?
Well, if they go to our creator guide, so it's creators.soundcloud.com/mastering on SoundCloud, they can find it there. But more realistically, there's several points in the application where it shows up where it should. So when you do an upload, at the end of the upload flow, you will have an option to master. And when you're looking at all your tracks, going through the track pages, there'll be a button to master. And campaigns will be triggered off of that as well, just to kind of showing some interest. We want to get that in front of you. So those are like the main sort of like triggers that would hook someone into the product. And I think we have a series of artists on the homepage that have their own audiences that they'll bring in, and social media, and all the traditional go-to-market tactics.
Yeah, and I just wanted to give a shout out to the SoundCloud team and how they actually did the workflow, because if you look at that, and we'll show you in a minute, I mean, the workflow is just absolutely seamless. If you're used to the SoundCloud platform, if you've been a creator on it for years, you're going to see a new box that says mastering. You're like, oh, cool, let's check that out. And then it just becomes this nice seamless flow. So, Miguel and team, and also on our side, shout out to Rich Holmes, who worked on this from the product management side for Dolby. You guys may remember Rich from his days at Avid, where he looked after product management for Pro Tools. So we're lucky to have him on board. But yeah, it's just a really, really seamless workflow, and just super easy for the user.
And that's what I found. As I said, just clicking around and messing through it, I was like, oh, boom, this is, I get it. It's straight to the point. My options are clear, and the ability to to compare and see what it's going to be right there is just amazing. And this development, this mastering by SoundCloud, powered by Dolby, it's essentially for streaming services, correct?
Yeah, I think that a lot of the listening time these days is happening on some service or another. And this is probably the largest area of consumption for music. So we're really trying to optimize for that sweet spot, for SoundCloud, for Spotify, Apple Music, and Tidal, whichever other platforms are out there. I think that when we go through the demo, we can talk a little bit about that. But certainly, yes, streaming platforms is sort of the intended destination for now.
So one of the things I appreciate about SoundCloud, I have some history with Jeff Ponchik that goes back to the beginning of Pensado's Place, when he was at a MCN and then reached out for us and became our rep. And I watched it evolve, and actually you're sitting, my little television studio is the former bedroom of my stepdaughter, who works for SoundCloud in LA, in Culver City. So shout out to Tyler Moore. One of the things that I've watched and been so impressed with is SoundCloud is constantly evolving, but somehow keeps it simple. It feels like it's a home of creators and music lovers, and really understands the DIY indie community. And knowing from the super professional side, mastering is an important chain in the link. And the way it seems like you guys have approached it is how to complete that final chain and have things ready for distribution and monetization. Am I reading that right? Was that part of the process?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you take something and and the strategy is sort of like you upload and you share content. And then you have a look at the data, like where are people listening from? How are they finding you? How can you connect with those people? And then you do the connection piece, like reach out to them, communicate with them, start to build a relationship, and these are your fans. I think that mastering is a piece that sort of fits with some work that we had done previously with Jeff's team at Repost, where we had brought monetization onto the platform so that you can join. It was previously called our Premier program, and now it's called Repost on SoundCloud, which allows you to monetize the plays, both on SoundCloud and off of SoundCloud. And then we added the distribution piece, which lets you put your content on SoundCloud and have it distributed to other major DSPs. And mastering just felt like a key piece of the puzzle. Like I said, if you're going to go over to Spotify, they have parameters on what you need to upload, and so we just want the workflow for the creator to just be simple. When you think of uploading, think of SoundCloud. And then from there, we've got you every step of the way. And I think just to share a couple of recent launches, we finally got mobile upload working. So you can now share wherever you are. I think SoundCloud is a global brand, and we've got probably 90% of the usage comes from mobile devices in over 190 countries. We've brought some functionality in order to better spotlight, your most recent releases on mobile as well. So these were previously web-only features. So you can edit the tracks. You can say like, this is the latest release. I want to pin this, to the top, the 5 of them. And we kind of did like a cool collaboration with Pharrell called I Am Other, which is a compilation where he's curating creators from SoundCloud. So, I think the dream of every uploader is to get discovered and get put on a platform. And so we couldn't think of a better partner to just help elevate those people.
Let me ask a process question really quickly.
Sure.
I upload my track for mastering to SoundCloud, and then it goes to the Dolby magicians. Is that how that works? How does Dolby fit into that process?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It goes to the Dolby magicians. I love that. So actually, this product is part of what we call our Dolby I/O strategy, which is a really cool suite of tools that we've released that are really APIs, right? Specifically for developers, media processing APIs that allow developers really a self-service kind of opportunity to go in and be able to access some of the Dolby Magic, 50 plus years of innovation, and be able to license that into their products and just use it really simply and easily. So this really is one of our first sort of flagship opportunities to share some of the Dolby Magic with folks. So yeah, it's actually going to the cloud. And that's what I was saying earlier about the integration. We love this integration where it's like seamless to the user. You're on your platform, it's processed in the cloud, pushed back down to the SoundCloud platform, and voila.
I just wanted to say, we have been blessed in that we get to see a lot of, obviously, music forward motion, but then we've also seen, certainly in our 11 years, how tech companies have come into the music space. And candidly, there's 2 approaches. The one approach is it's all tech and music is going to suffer and follow the tech. But then there's what you guys do, which is music's at the heart of it and defines it, and then tech supports and enhances that. And there's such a big difference for the user, the consumer, whoever is the final listener, what you pay, the pricing. I think SoundCloud is just on a roll. And our fortunate part is that a lot of people come on the show to talk about their audio movements, from Netflix to YouTube, on and on and on. I really think you guys are on the cutting edge of exactly where it needs to sit in the community, and so certainly honored that you choose to come on Pensado's Place and talk about it.
We really appreciate you having us. Big fans of the show and of the work that you've done over the years.
I heard you got a little pressure when people knew you were coming on. They put a little heat on you, like, you got to bring it, Miguel. You got to bring it. Is that true?
Yeah. I reached out to a couple friends. One of them, an engineer and producer out in Detroit named Brendan Gillen, and we were talking about. I was like, "Hey, I'm going to do this show, and I don't want to look like an idiot." And he's like, "Yeah, let's spend a few hours on the phone and we'll talk about it." And we got super deep. We talked about the agony of like working through and not being able to finish a track to the point where you just hate it. And then, sort of just like sticking with it, being persistent, and coming out of the other side with like something much more beautiful than you intended, and then being able to share that with the world. And I think that is the magic of SoundCloud. It's a platform where anybody can put their content up, and those anybody's made up 50 of 2019's Billboard Top 200, including Billie Eilish and Juice WRLD and Boogie with a Hoodie, Travis Scott, Trippie Redd. Like, we've got so many amazing artists coming on the platform, and you don't know who they are one day, and then all of a sudden it's like your favorite producer.
Oh, yeah. It's a kudos to you, Philip. Kudos to Dolby too, because I think the partnership is strong. God knows Dave and I and the team have run into Dolby Atmos at every turn. You can't turn left or right without bumping into it and it becoming a standard. So it's great to watch power folks pull together and not forget what the mission is. Service the creator, make it work, make it easy, give them high-level stuff at a price point that makes sense. So now here's the fun part. I told you when I experienced it, it was so simple, but I don't want to keep that experience to myself. Why don't you guys show us the process and how it actually works and sounds?
Sure. So this would be where you encounter mastering in your typical upload flow. So one thing to note is that mastering is limited to tracks currently at 10 minutes because it doesn't support DJ mixes, which really need normalization, nor does it support podcasts for the time, but just songs. So if your song is eligible, it's within 10 minutes in the right audio format, then you see this little mastering button, and then you just go ahead and click that, and that will take you into the mastering UI. And so when you land there, you get a chance to sort of pick a snippet that's high contrast. So you want a piece that's got something high, something low frequency, so that you can really test out the dynamic range and try out the different profiles. So I found this piece on the Baby Jane track that I quite liked. She says games, and then just kind of light drums, and then there's a break, and then it comes in hard. And then you just hit continue, and Dolby does its thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is really where the kind of the Dolby magic comes in, and let's talk for a minute about a little bit of the background and what's actually happening here. So a key feature of the mastering on SoundCloud is our dynamic EQ. And so this is something that we've developed internally over a couple of years. And I think it's important to point out, we're not just doing multi-band compression, right? This is a constantly evolving EQ profile. And it's managed in the back end by an intelligent process. So we do a full analysis pass of the track to work out where the different frequencies are and to what extent particular frequencies are on individual bands. And then at the end of that whole process, we do another pass that does loudness optimization.
Yeah, so now you're in the step 2 of mastering, which is the actual interface where you do the work. What you'll notice in the top left is a play button, and then right underneath that, you've got the original and the master. The original is the actual original file that you've uploaded. No changes made to it. And the master is the loudness optimized version with the tonal changes and dynamic improvements. So I'm going to first talk through Thunder, which was our quite bassy Thunder in the trunk window rattling preset. And I'm going to just move it down to, I think, like 0%. So when the profile is chosen, and it's at 0%, you'll have the option to see what the master sounds like without any of the dynamic changes applied to it. So yeah, so I've brought it down to 0. So this is the loudness optimized, like apples to apples comparison of your track. And a value of 0 gives you, like I said, just loudness optimized version, where as you move it up the scale, it's giving the changes to the balance and EQ and loudness settings. And you can hear the track gets a bit more full in this one. Like the low end it gets quite big, and this is the version with just the master, and then see it warms up quite a bit. So let's just rewind that again and then try that all the way to 100. So I just want to point out also that this tool on the right is not part of our service. This is called Insight. It's offered by the guys at iZotope. We just thought it was really helpful to have a visual so you can see how the audio is changing. So I think next we'll try Sunroof, which is maybe a bit less bass than Thunder, but bringing the vocals up quite a bit. Maybe, like I said, for a track like this, some R&B vibes, I think that this works a lot better.
Clever on your part for keeping me in the dark and flashing around your arm like a Dior light. Clever on your part for keeping me in the dark and clever on your part for keeping flashing around your arm. Clever on your part for keeping me in the dark and flashing around your arm like a Dior.
And you can just hear as the intensity increases, the song gets a bit more full. It's got a little bit more life. The pieces are just standing out just a tad, and it sounds great.
Going to say, I think, one of the main things about that intensity adjustment is really giving the creator control, right? So we've got the profiles, that's great. But what we're all about is trying to give the user as much control as possible to really fine tune the mix for them and what they're looking for, whatever their creative intent was. I think one of the other things to talk about in the profiles just quickly is these are just the 4 we started with, right? We are going to be building out new profiles based on user feedback and what's working for people. So as we go forward, look for more of these profiles and more control.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next one I want to try is Aurora, which is something that we thought might work with ambient pieces or vocal sort of like chanting, orchestral pieces, anything where there's like a lot of space between the players, as well as interesting miking techniques, where we try to not do too much, just pick out some key elements and pull them into the mix, which maybe this isn't the best song to experiment with, but
it's hard to keep up. I'm in love with the games.
you see the transients just kind of stay in place. It's very true to the mix and just kind of bringing it up a bit, but not really changing much. And then we'll apply Clear Sky, as I think our final test here, where, this is a track that could benefit from, tight, hot bass and, a strong vocal over the edge. But I think this is a profile that adds a lot of high-end frequency. It's sort of taster's choice. And so we're starting with the original and just shoot it right back up. And you can already feel the warmth. Back to the original. And 100%. Like it feels a lot warmer. And once you're happy with what you have, you just move forward into the next step, where you are asked to pay for your master. I have a ProU account, so I'm getting a discount of 20% off, and that'll just jump you to the final track because it actually takes quite a bit of time to get through 2 more screens. But then here, you're on your track page. We probably should change the pre-master, so good look there. You hit play on the track, and you can hear it in the full mastered version. If you want to download the files, you open up the editor, and you can download the pre-master and the master right from this track, so they're always available to you. And from here, you just sort of share away.
It's clearly evident how much thought process you guys have put into this, how simple it is, how to get to it, the profile. I'm actually excited about the further developing profiles and how the naming process is. Pensado's Place could help you with that, by the way. So, folks call me later. What I know from our experience is that you don't get there alone. Pensado's Place would not be what it is, whatever it is, without its team. That's really what makes it happen. And I'm sure you got some killers on your side that were helpful in this process.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd love to say thank you to my core team, Creator Workflow, which is Leandro, Gina, Lute, Jan, Nikolai, Kim, Patrick, Andrea, and Anna, our copywriter, who's just been very patient with me through all the different iterations. Alvaro, who just sold me on the project and has been there every step of the way to make everything smooth. Charlotte and Arpan and Brienne from go-to-market team, business teams who've just been super supportive. and opened a lot of doors. The marketing team, Leon, Reed, Devin, for all their support, all the assets, and like even putting together this video demo last night, last minute. My boss, Dan, Jill, Laura, everyone at the company has been super supportive and kind of allowed us to really focus and try to deliver a great product. And we're super thankful to them.
It's impressive that you can remember all that stuff. That's good. Once I get past Lisa and Tyler, I'm done. So, well, needless to say, for you and Philip from Dolby and the SoundCloud team, who, by the way, have been an absolute pleasure to deal with. This is impressive. Stay close with us. Let's do more. Our audience intersects dramatically. We're in about the same amount of countries, and it's a powerful pact, to say the least. Kudos to what you guys have done, and keep bringing tools. We're excited to hear what the future holds.
Thank you so much, and likewise, huge fan of the show. And Jay Rich, the producer, says to tell you hello.
Oh, cool! Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
all right.
Thanks very much. Absolute honor to be here, and just thank you.
Absolutely. Very impressed, Philip. Thank you, guys. So as you can see, folks, amazing platforms like SoundCloud make it possible for you to make your music, distribute it, get paid for it, master it, mix it. You have no excuse not to go do your thing. Thanks, SoundCloud. Thanks for making it available to all of our community, and we'll see you next week.